welcome back to our podcast. I'm the gentleman, accompanied by the disturbed Southern Belle.
Hello.
This episode, we are continuing and getting close to ending our series on Hollywood, or old Hollywood.
Yeah, this is, I think, it's going to be the last episode.
So, we figured we'd end on a big one, like really big. Rock Hudson, one of the biggest names in film history.
Right.
At least in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, this is the last few. So, yes, the last few are going to be big ones. Both.
Anyways, so Rock Hudson was born as Roy Harold Scherer Jr. on November 17th of 1925.
Mm-hmm.
And he went on to become one of the most popular film actors of his time and a prominent figure in what was called the Golden Age of Hollywood.
Very much so.
It's also a fairly sad story because, well, as a lot of people would know, he was gay, and around that time it was...
You weren't allowed to be.
You were not allowed to be.
Well,
no.
We'll not say you weren't allowed to be, but you weren't
not
allowed
with his
to
kind of career.
Say that you were. You weren't allowed. The coming out part was not something you were allowed to do, or you wouldn't have a career because people wouldn't watch your movies, or they would ostracize you big time.
Anyways, so as a Hollywood producer once called him, he was the Prince Charming of the time, which is a fitting name for a man whose life seemed, for most of it, like a storybook.
Mm-hmm.
Rock Hudson started steaming up the screen in 1950s and continued for nearly 4 decades in more than 60 different films. So, imagine a man built like a tank, a 6'5" frame, a barrel chest, and a square jaw, speaking in a low voice, has a full set of hair, and basically most women's ideal of the time.
Right. Well, even today, I mean, even by today's standards, he was very handsome. I mean, he absolutely was. I could definitely see the heartthrob thing. He was absolutely.
Yeah, I challenge you to look up an old picture of him.
Yeah, he was the traditional tall, dark, handsome, that you think of. I mean, he was. So he was.
So, anyways, the man was a perfect projection of what women in the 1950s and 60s thought they wanted when they fell asleep at night. And that projection, named Rock Hudson by a crafty agent, was a complete fabrication. Hudson was not only the most famous closeted star of classic Hollywood, but he was also one of AIDS' most famous victims.
Mm-hmm.
He died of the disease and homosexuality in general, was still very, very seen as wrong.
Right.
So, sure, the man had a fake name, but most of Hollywood at the time did, and probably still does, honestly.
Yeah, a lot of them probably do.
He was in fake relationships and tended to bolster public interest in his films,
right,
and shut down gossip about his actual personal life.
Mm.
But that was also true of pretty much all Hollywood stars in that era, both male and female. And again, still somewhat true to some today.
There were female actors that were known to be lesbian, and they couldn't do that. They couldn't either. It's stupid, but yeah, it's true.
Anyways, the problem then was that Rock Hudson admitted that he had AIDS in 1984. He made it unequivocally clear that his entire image was a lie, and that those who'd believed it, fallen for it, worshipped it, used it as a model against which all male prospects should be judged, well, they had all been duped. It wasn't just that Hudson played straight roles on screen. He, and gossip machines, had presented the real Hudson, the non-acting Hudson, as a paragon of masculine heterosexuality. And it was that deception, more than the fact that Hudson liked to have sex with men, that fueled the scandal. If Rock Hudson could be gay, then who else? If such a macho man was also interested in men, then yeah.
Exactly. Then it could be anybody. Oh, no.
Yeah. The horror.
I guess.
Anyways, what other star images were predicated on falsehood and was all of Hollywood a lie, were questions that were going around at the time. But, yeah, since no respectable mother would ever name her son Rock.
Okay. Oh, that's nice to know.
Well, yeah.
I mean, it's an unusual name, but still, it doesn't mean you're a bad mother because you like the name. A lot of people might have named their kid Rock after him, just because of, people do that crap all the time.
Well, true. But I mean, as an original name with no outside influence, it's kind of random and weird.
It is a little odd, I guess.
Anyways, a boy, then named Roy at the time, had a predictable, unstarry Illinois childhood. He sang in the Glee Club, had no remarkable talent. He served as an auto mechanic in the Navy during World War II, and afterward moved to Hollywood. At this point, Hudson looked very much as he would for the rest of his life, which is to say he looked like a Ken doll with a dye job. That same classic good looks, the same soft, inviting smile. But he could not act, was the problem. Nevertheless, Roy caught the eye of Henry Wilson, who quickly named him Rock Hudson. Wilson managed to finagle him a bit part in the war drama Fighter Squadron. But Hudson famously took 38 takes to properly deliver a single line.
Oh my gosh.
So, Henry Wilson went to work turning Rock from adult into an acting star. Now, Wilson was gay and well known as such, making his name as a talent scout by cruising gay clubs and picking up the most handsome, square-jawed Captain America types. After World War II, Wilson started his own talent agency, specializing in producing the type of male star that post-war audiences seemed to hunger for. Instead of the continental men about town, these men were strapping, virile, and Midwestern wholesome. In other words, servicemen.
Right.
Or at least the stereotypical image of a serviceman, all milk-fed and ready to do man things.
Exactly.
Wilson would take these Captain Americas, usually have sex with them, strip them of their names, and rebuild them from the ground up.
You love it.
He gave them preposterous yet catchy stage names that somehow combine the very normal with the very unique.
Right.
There's Rock Hudson, of course, but there's also Troy Donahue, Tab Hunter, Rory Calhoun, Guy Madison, Clint Walker, Clint Ritchie, Chad Everett, Guy Williams, Grant Williams, Van Williams. He really liked the name Williams.
Evidently.
Cal Boulder, Rad Fulton, Rand Saxon, Race Gentry, Chance Gentry, Chance Nesbitt, and best star of all time, Dak Rambo.
That's
Dak
the name.
Rambo. D-A-C-K Rambo.
I don't think I've ever heard of him. Some of them I've heard of, but that one I don't think I've heard of.
I have not heard of him prior to this script. Pretty sure I would have remembered a name like Dak Rambo.
That's not one I remember, but some of them I have heard of.
Anyways, obviously repetition was not a problem. When a new star creation didn't take, Wilson simply gave the name to his next endeavor. He'd bestow the star with quote-unquote masculine hobbies, woodworking, horseback riding, football, and he would rewrite their personal narratives to best appeal what audiences seemed to crave. Since the majority, but not all, of Wilson's clients were gay, he also put them in training to rewrite any stereotypically effeminate gestures. Limp wrists were slapped, swaying hips were straightened, and they learned how to light a cigarette, quote-unquote, like a man, with a swift single motion. In other words, they went to straight guy school, and with the help of the fan magazines, audiences ate them up. Very few became huge stars in the way that people like Clark Gable was.
Right.
Their images were too hollow to sustain the weight of actual superstardom. But for all of their derivativeness, they filled the B-list and made girls swoon. The same way that so many male stars on ABC Family and Disney have that vaguely Bieberish yet ambiguously ethnic look.
Sort of. I kind of get that.
But Hudson was the most famous product of Henry Wilson. Well, his star of school making, anyway.
Right.
Or school of star making. I butchered that. Anyways, Wilson eventually landed him a contract with Universal, which put him in a string of stinkers, but worked to capitalize his hunky image. Even with supporting roles in bad movies, the fan magazines still had him advertising female readers on the best way to win a man's heart. But in 1954, Hudson landed a role in Magnificent Obsession, a four-hanky melodrama starring Jane Wyman, the first wife of Ronald Reagan.
Right.
Don't forget that Ronald Reagan himself was a big star in the 50s, or the 40s and 50s, and that he became our president from that, which is insane to me still.
Well, look at Trump.
Fair enough.
He wasn't a politician either, so he was more or less a businessman, but whatever.
More or less, yeah.
I mean.
Anyways, Obsession was directed by Douglas Sirk, the man responsible for the most melodramatic and color-saturated films of our time. Not melodramatic like Armageddon or Pearl Harbor, which belonged to a whole subset of action melodrama, but melodramatic like Dear Channing Tatum or Ryan Gosling's Notebook.
Right.
Or A Walk with Mandy Moore, Dying Young and Cancerous. Which might produce a tear or two on the page, but turn into full-fledged emotion fests on the screen.
Right.
Sirk's films, over the top in the best ways, for some people, they were considered the Nicholas Sparks adaptations of their time, and were where most middle-aged women would go to spend what were derogatorily described as wet, wasted afternoons.
So the old tearjerkers, huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyways, and as has always been in the case of melodrama, the emotion that couldn't fit into the performers' bodies or dialogue overflowed into the mise-en-scene.
Right.
The costumes and the score, creating gorgeous film tapestries. So,
Exactly.
Sirk films are effusive and emotional. They're bite your tongue, roll on the floor absurd, but they're also maybe the most moving thing you've ever seen. Melodrama is complicated like that.
It's kind of wrong in some cases. Some of them are a little cheesy.
They really are.
But it just depends on the movie. It does. But some, yeah.
A big clue there is look at who directed it.
Nah, too sure.
Typically, you can tell what it's going to be like by who by who's the director is.
A lot of times you can, yes.
Anyways, in the years since, his movies have been recognized as masterpieces of the form, offering subtle critiques of American understandings of race, sexuality, domesticity, etc. But that doesn't mean they're not still ridiculous, and Magnificent Obsession did vies for most ridiculous. So, first, Rock Hudson is a party boy. He gets drunk while out motorboating, bad things happen, and in the abbreviated version, a doctor that everyone loves dies. Hudson is sent to the hospital where the doctor works. Everyone hates him. He runs away, big sad face, but passes out in the front of the car owned by the doctor's widow, played by Jane Wyman. Insert long section of Hudson getting released, trying to be a drunk playboy again, failing, and deciding that he might be a good person. But then he does something, no telling why, that leads to Wyman stepping in front of a car, and she goes blind.
Oh no.
Then, Rock Hudson decides to reform and becomes a medical student and befriends Jane Wyman, never letting on that he was the one who led to her husband's death.
Oh my God.
They fall in love, even though blind Jane can't see hunky Rock. But then, Hudson has Wyman go to Europe for a secret blindness cure, but no one can give it to her. She's super sad, and Hudson arrives to hold her in his big man arms. Between tears, he drops the bombshell of his true identity, followed by, "Will you marry me, you beautiful blind woman?" Wyman is obviously all about this, but of course it can't come true at this point in the story, so she decides that she'd be too much of a burden and flees into the deep dark night. She is blind, running away from this man into the darkness, just randomly, in a random direction.
Sure.
I just want to point that out, just from a logical standpoint.
I guess it doesn't matter that it's dark, but yeah, I don't know that I just want to take off and run out into the night. Period. But whatever.
But I meant just more like running off randomly as a blind person.
Exactly. Well, yeah.
Not being able to see anything.
Yeah.
Not having any clue other than your hearing.
Right. That would not be smart. No.
Anyways, years pass, Hudson becomes a badass brain surgeon.
Of course.
But someone brings word that Wyman is on her deathbed, to which Hudson rushes. Oh God, she's dying of brain problems. Who could perform this last-minute surgery? Maybe Hudson.
Oh, you think?
Hudson does it.
Could he? Oh my God.
So, will Jane Wyman survive? Maybe, yes. Oh shit, look at that. Brain surgery cures blindness. Newly sighted Wyman takes one look at Surgeon Rock and finds him perfect. The end.
That sounds like some of these cheesy movies. I swear to God. Even some today.
Sounds like a Hallmark movie.
I mean, it kind of does. Just like what?
Sounds like a Hallmark movie.
It kind of does. Oh my God. It's so funny.
You know what? No, I'll give it this. It sounds funnier. I'm not a big fan of Hallmark movies. They're often just stupid. To the point of being stupid.
Some of them are. They're just too much. But anyway.
Anywho. So, Yeah, that's basically the story of that movie. And that's basically what a lot of people saw Rock Hudson as at the time.
Right.
So the image was further ratified by 2 Cirque films in quick succession. All That Heaven Allows in 1955, again with Jane Wyman, this time wearing lots of flannel and doing a lot of gardening. And Written on the Wind in 1956, featuring Unsolved Mysteries host Robert Stack.
Really? Holy crap.
Lauren Bacall, and the best fully clothed, frenzied, bed gyrating that you'll ever see.
Wait, oh my god, that makes you want to watch it just to see.
Kind of, yes.
It just sounds so stupid. I love it.
So, as Hudson becomes more visible, so did his lack of a wife. Life magazine declared him Hollywood's most eligible bachelor, but explained that fans are urging 29-year-old Rock Hudson to get married or explain why he's not. So, the real pressure came from a scandal sheet named Confidential, which collected the dirt on dozens of Hollywood stars and their dirty deeds, past and present.
Right.
Headed by Robert Harrison, Confidential had an army of informants, a garish color scheme, puny purple prose, and promised to tell the facts and name the names. God, I can't speak.
So basically, it's just the Inquirer before there was the Inquirer.
Basically,
Inquirer
yes.
and minds want to know. Confidential.
Basically. So, anyways, Harrison got his secrets by paying off Hollywood's lower classes, being bellboys, waitresses, and those who slept with the stars behind closed doors. And rumor had it that one of Hudson's dalliances had taken photos of him in a compromising position. Confidential was willing to buy those pictures for $10,000. Must be a lucrative business.
Yeah, it was a fair amount back then. I mean, really, that was.
To be fair, that'd be a fair amount now for those kind of pictures.
But I mean, back then, even more so. That's a lot of money. But now tell them what they'd make off of them.
Oh, absolutely not. Wilson was terrified, naturally. Confidential was just a scandal rag, but its readership had reached nearly 4.5 million over the course of a year, and innuendo concerning Hudson's sexuality could mean the end of the star's fledgling career.
Definitely.
Wilson thus took immediate action, forging a devil's pact with Harrison. If Confidential did not print what it knew about Hudson, Wilson would hand over dirt on 2 other prominent stars from his man stable.
Oh, God, his man stable.
His man stable.
Why not?
The first scandal was somewhat innocuous. Rory Calhoun had been a juvenile delinquent, but had found Jesus and was now a good guy. So, yeah.
There you go.
The second, however, was a bit more incendiary. Wilson provided Confidential with the details of Tab Hunter's arrest for disorderly conduct with a host of other disorderly males. So, the article titled The Truth About Tab Hunter's Pajama Party made it clear that Hunter was hanging out, barely clothed, with limp-wristed lads and enjoyed queer romps.
It's not funny, it's just so dumb. The whole limp-wristed thing. I always thought
the phrases they used
I know.
were
it's
interesting.
Like, Jesus Christ. But anyway, good grief. It's just dumb. But
yeah. Anyways, this piece was actually revenge, kind of.
Right.
Wilson's revenge at Hunter, who had ditched Wilson for a new agent just months before.
So it was just getting back anyway.
Pretty much.
Kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
Yep.
Get this guy off my back and then get some revenge.
So, Wilson next laid the groundwork to shut down any persistent rumors about Hudson's sexuality, arranging for a marriage between the star and Hudson's secretary, Phyllis Gates. He planted stories of their whirlwind romance in the fan magazines, and the 2 wed in a ceremony entirely planned by Wilson in 1955. The 2 would stay married for 3 years, but for those in the know, the marriage was such a transparent sham as to be laughable. However, despite how flimsy the story was, Americans bought it. The rumors of Hudson's sexuality, at least for the time being, were limited to Hollywood insiders. So, Hudson's authenticated heterosexuality helped win him the lead in Giant, released in 1956. Giant is, not surprisingly, a sprawling 3.5-hour Texas-sized film. It has Liz Taylor and James Dean.
Yep.
And it tells a very American story of the way that money earned from the land makes life complicated and turns families against each other. It also portrays Hudson, playing the oil baron paterfamilias, as a profound, decent, hardworking, and prosperous man who's assailed by a sexually frustrated wife and a whiny James Dean. Dean and Hudson both earned Oscar nominations, and the film was a financial and critical success, but it also led to disaster as Hudson, bolstered by its success, turned down roles in Sayonara, Bridge on the River Kwai, and Ben-Hur in order to appear in what should have been a prestige picture, David O. Selznick's adaptation of A Farewell to Arms.
Right.
Selznick had done Hemingway before with a rather mediocre version of For Whom the Bell Tolls. He'd done prestige pictures, he'd done sprawling epics, but Farewell came at the end of his career when he was desperate for a hit. So he was sloppy. So, for those who have read A Farewell to Arms, they'll know it's an exceptionally sad story. Hemingway it's the saddest story of Hemingway's career, and that's saying a lot. And for as much melodrama as Rock Hudson has done, the film still flopped. Hudson lost his momentum and suffered through a string of misfires, until 1959, when he partnered with Doris Day in what would become his second defining role, co-starring in Pillow Talk, and the two quasi-sequels that followed. In these films, Hudson and Doris Day play the most flirtatious asexuals in the world. They talk around the fact of sex, meaning that they flirt, but are never sexual.
Right.
They dance, they kiss, it's cute, but never actually even close to hot.
Right.
For many women, the perfect relationship isn't about sex, though. It's about cuteness, a little cha-cha in a nice tailored suit, and non-consummation. So, in other words, the perfect relationship is the relationship with your gay best friend, so to speak. And of course, that's what these films were about. Skillful flirtations between sassurinely sweet, virginal female star and her closeted gay co-star. But again, this image of love sold, especially to women disillusioned with their suburban lives, slowly realizing that a dishwasher couldn't make them happy, and made Hudson and Day the most bankable duo of the 60s. Hudson went on to dabble in westerns, sci-fi, and really bad sideburns, but he was most remembered for his roles in Cirque melodramas and the Doris Day comedies, through which his endearing, wholly desexualized smile worked its way into a generation of women's hearts. Hudson's health began to deteriorate in the early 80s, but he still signed on to appear in Dynasty in late 1984, and it became clear how far Hudson's health had declined. He looked far older than his 58 years, slurred his speech, and moved with difficulty, making you think maybe a stroke or something. So, later that year, Hudson agreed to appear for the national premiere of Doris Day's new television show, and looked so emaciated that the clip was rebroadcast across the nation on the nightly news. It was at this point, in late July of 1985, that Hudson publicly announced that he had been diagnosed with AIDS. There was a huge outpouring of support, but for the most part, I think it really just messed with people's conception of AIDS and of homosexuality.
Right.
Hudson's announcement gave AIDS a public and sympathetic face, and was one of several moments in the 1980s that helped destigmatize the disease and those who suffered from it. It also gave a public face to homosexuality, one that was not stereotypical or the butt of a joke. These were enormous revelations, and their effects are still felt today, as that was probably one of the most defining parts of American history.
It kind of was. I mean,
regarding
that's really
gay
what it
rights
kind of
and all
sort of
that.
made it where it started becoming more acceptable after that.
Right.
It really kind of did. I mean, it didn't immediately happen.
Well, of course not. Nothing happens immediately.
Exactly, but at least it did start opening up, showing that these different people are gay. You didn't even know they were gay, and look, they were normal people, and you just didn't even, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because everybody tried to make them demonize them or something.
Oh, absolutely.
Just nutty stuff, but whatever.
Christianity for you folks.
Sometimes it could be. Sometimes it's religious. Sometimes it's just personal belief in general.
I know. But everything in America stems from
A lot of it,
Christianity.
yes. A lot of it's religious.
Anyways, so yeah. The real lesson, I guess, if there is one, is that popular images, whether it be Rock Hudson or Tom Cruise, are just that, images. Sometimes they're more rooted in fact than others, but they're all creations or displacements, whether you like to think they are or not.
Right. That's true. I mean, we've said that on other episodes that people think of actors as their characters, but they're not. Like these people who play these really nice guys all the time, for instance, and they can be just total sleazebags in real life.
Exactly.
And it happens.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, what was the one guy from that 70s show?
I don't remember
I can't think his name, but anyway, we all know the story with that. I mean, he played what we think is, decent-ish characters.
Right.
And then he's supposed to be like just not a good guy. Now, I don't know how much of that's true. I mean, we know he got convicted, but I mean, you know what I'm saying? I don't know how much is true, how much was made. I don't know how much of it. I don't know. I didn't follow the whole scenario court case story. But obviously they had something on him or he wouldn't be in jail. So,
Right.
But that's what I'm saying is watching his characters, you wouldn't think that. You
wouldn't.
Yeah, I wouldn't think that was the kind of person he was if you only went by his character. But that's what I'm saying. His characters are not the people. And people
they're not.
Really seem to get distracted by that fact.
Here's the thing. Actors are liars. That's what acting is. It's lying. It's pretending.
I mean, that's it.
You can't trust what you see on the screen.
No, of course not.
You can't trust famous people like that. Because they're gonna put up a face, so to speak. Well,
exactly. They're all portraying someone other than who they are. I mean, I don't know many that are going to come in and, unless it's like a documentary type film or something, or they're doing a cameo, even then they're probably not even showing their real self. They're still showing a sort of a character to a point where they play their self in something. But still, yeah, it's a character.
Mind you, I'm not saying to just automatically assume every actor is a bad person.
No, by no means. There are plenty, I'm sure, that are perfectly normal human beings. Just,
just proceed with caution.
Some are just not what you think they are, and don't automatically assume just because this person plays a nice character that's a nice person. That kind of scenario. Right. But anyway, we hope you enjoyed that excerpt. We have one more. And we're finishing up, and we're going to be starting a new series on the dark stories in music. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe, and don't forget to stay disturbed.